Hello, I'm Hugh from All Preparation Equipment. Today we'll be going over some tips and tricks on how to set up your DSM650RC and 800RC remote controlled floor grinders to get the best results on site. Before we get started, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to our channel if you haven't already. The DSM650RC and 800RC are ideal for large prep grinding, honing and polishing work for consistent results. So to set up the DSM800 remote to start grinding, at the moment we've got it in transport mode, which is running off the batteries, and I can drive it around with the controls here. But first thing we'll do is to take off the jockey wheel. So we'll wind this right down. Now we can flip the machine back and fit the diamonds. So because this has got a fair bit of weight, you want to make sure the weight's at the back position and tilt the handle back a bit so it's like that, and put one foot up on the bar so that you got all your weight over the back. And then bend your knees as you place it down. So now we can fit the diamonds underneath. We can put 18 shoes, so 6 on each, but in this case we'll just put 9 to be more aggressive. You slide them on with the skinny edge first. Give it a small tap to make sure they're secure. With a set of 9, it'll make the grinder more aggressive, so you do have to be careful, keep an eye on how much the diamonds are wearing. Whereas with an 18 set, you get better life and a finer cut, depending on if you're trying to remove concrete or finish and polish it. Now we've got the diamonds on, always check that it's an even set in height. We can adjust these straps so that the shroud is level with the diamonds. I'm going to create a nice seal. Now we can lift the machine back up onto the ground. So to make sure to start grinding, we turn the key to the right so that the green light turns on, and then we pop the emergency stop button out on the remote. We get the startup screen. Then the top left-hand button, push that down. Once you get the 4 bars, you hear the tick. That means that now we can drive it around on battery. To start grinding, at this point we'll plug it into 3-phase power, making sure that the power is turned off. It's also, for remote grinders, a good idea to curl it over the handle or over this bar, just so that you don't risk damaging the socket here if you drive too far. So tighten that up, secure. You can turn the power on, and then the screen will light up. Press reset button. Then we can turn on the left hand side here, we've got the motor, grinding motor controls, the on and off, left and right, and the variable speed. So when we turn the on button, that'll start grinding. And as soon as you start the motor, grinding motor, you want to start to move it around. So using the toggle, so on the right hand side of the emergency stop button, we've got the joystick for driving it around, the variable speed drive, so depending on how fast or slow you want the wheels to go. And then down the bottom we've got a couple of other cruise control feature for going in a straight line, at a constant speed, or you can make it go side to side, and then a 0 turn function, and then a trimming function for if it's grinding a bit off course. So you'd always want to start on a slow tooling speed and a slow driving speed until you work out what the grinder's doing, if your diamonds are cutting properly, and also keeping an eye on the kilowatts that it's pulling up here. So it's a 15 kilowatt motor. You want to make sure that you usually use between, well, if you're polishing, it's usually 2 to 4 kilowatts, so it's not working very hard, whereas if you're doing heavy exposure, you want to be careful you're around 6 to 8, no more than 10, because that's on the higher side of the load. And also have good quality power from a decent generator or mains power. So you can also use these weights here, so pull the pin out and fold it back to take weight off if you're polishing or removing a heavy membrane that's quite aggressive on the grinder. You can have it at the neutral position or all the way forwards if you're grinding a heavy concrete, hard concrete, or needing more aggression for tacking down fly spots. You also got the water tank here, so you can run water through, it comes out the front, and you can adjust the flow with this dial. So depending on if you're wanting it to be fully wet, you'd have it flat out, or just a little bit of water to assist, you'd have it half speed or less. You've got to stop the machine, obviously emergency stop button here, or else on the remote, and that'll cut it. And then if there's emergency or need to stop it quickly. So when you're grinding, it's a good idea to fold the handle over the front so that it keeps it out of the road and not damaging any walls. It's also good to be mindful of these points here when going up against walls or turning. You can also, for loading onto vehicles, when you've just got 2 ramps, flip the machine back and you can either get someone else to hold it or hold it with one hand and drive it slowly, like so. For transport, if you don't have a ramp and you've only got two small ramps. So that's the other way you can transport it. And the batteries in the grinder will charge up when it's plugged into 3-phase power. So it's a good idea to keep it plugged in overnight every 2 or 3 months if it's sitting unused, so the batteries are charged up. So with the batteries in the remote grinder, they're in the side here. They take AA batteries. They usually last about an 8-hour shift of grinding straight. The vacuum port for the grinder is in the back. You can run a short hose with a cam lock fitting if you've got the larger 75mm hose. Also, with the heavier machines on harder concrete, the diamonds can sometimes glaze up if you've got like a medium bond. You can either go a softer bond, or else spraying water in front of the grinder can assist with being aggressive and cutting into getting exposure. Another thing that helps with getting more aggression out of your diamonds, as well as applying water, is to change the direction of the grinder. So you'd stop the machine, change it to if you're going to the right, you change it to the left, and then start the machine up again. And that it helps to open up the diamonds so that they'll cut more aggressively. It's always a good idea to do this on the end of a run so that you're not being more aggressive right in the middle of the floor, so it's more visible. You'd usually change direction every pass if it's a hard floor, depending on what the results are behind the machine. Also, if your batteries in the grinder have gone flat, if you haven't charged them up or let it sit plugged into power, you can take it out of remote mode into manual mode and then take the pins out of the wheels. So to do that, you turn the key at the back to the left hand side and the green light will turn off, and then the pins down at the wheels will pop out. Sometimes you need to give it a bit of a rock back and forwards. Now you can, if you're grinding, you can fold the handle down to a comfortable position and use the controls up here. So you press your stop button, press the reset to start grinding, turn the dial left or right, and then use the variable speed control. And then obviously you can push it around for transport if you need to get it off the site manually, like so. For optimal performance out of your 650 remote grinder and 800 remote grinder, you're best off starting at about 4 or 5, which is about halfway on the dial. And then for the 650, the maximum you'd want to use out of the kilowatt draw is about 8 kilowatts, because it's an 11 kilowatt motor. And for the 800, you'd want to go max of 10, so that you're not overloading the machine and pulling, using too much power, or power that it's not able to use. So to get the maximum out of your machine, you'd want to adjust the variable speed until it's about that point, and then back it off, or depending on what is coming out the back of the machine. And that's where you're wanting to be focusing on, to know how quick you go in the travel speed as well, and quick you go on the tooling speed. There is minimal maintenance required on the Schwamborn floor grinders, but it is worth periodically checking the depth of material left on your diamond shoes. Grinding through to the backing plates will likely result in damage to the floor and also the machine. As always, make sure you're wearing the appropriate PPE when working with any machinery, and for more in-depth safety information, refer to the manual. Well, there you have it. Thanks for watching, and if you liked the video, hit the thumbs up button before you go. If you're interested in any of the gear we showed you today, call us on 1800 422 992. Catch you on the next one.